Twilight Syndrome, one of my new favorite games. The first game, which is the best, with the best story, didn't get a movie made out of it. However, before the game even came out, this is the special version, it was split into 2 volumes, there was an audio drama made, because Japan likes audio dramas, even though in the West they seem to be kind of lost to the whole radio thing in the 40s and 50s or something. But in Japan they're still alive and well to this day. This was made in August 1995, whereas the first part of the game came out in 96, in April or something. So this was kind of like a promotion, I suppose. A couple of interesting things about this. I haven't listened to it, so the only thing I really know is that it doesn't follow the game's story. First of all, the last track of the CD is not part of the audio drama, it's a song, Fushigina Anata, which is not like the theme of the game, because the game would have its own theme, I think called Rain. So this one is just a song that they made for this one audio drama CD, so that's kind of unique. And in the little booklet here, there's a couple of interesting things to me. First, the first page says Introduction of Twilight Syndrome, the game. And since this was made half a year, more than half a year before the game came out, at this stage they didn't know that it was going to be split into 2 volumes. That's why it's called Twilight Syndrome, just like that. It's not like Twilight Syndrome Tansakuhen, the audio drama or something. And then a couple pages later, where you have messages from the people involved, there's Shigeru Chiba, and he is some kind of star at the time, I suppose. He was also in the Human published game Standby Seiyu, where you work as a guy trying to direct 3 women doing an episode of an anime, which is just kind of a weird little connection. The main voice actress in this audio drama is Kikuko Inoue. She also did a voice for Mujinto Monogatari's audio drama, and she does appear in the second Twilight Syndrome volume. She plays the high school student in the parallel world. I think she was Himeko or something. So that's kind of cool. They also gave Inoue her own radio show thing, where she had 30 minutes a week or something on the radio called Inoue Kikuko's Twilight Syndrome, where she talked ostensibly about Twilight Syndrome, but I think I only listened to one of the episodes, but I think they just talk about her. It's like an advertising vehicle for, I guess, both her and the game, but yeah, that exists. But then, with the next Twilight Syndrome game, Twilight Syndrome Saikai, in the manual, and also with the introduction DVD that they released, they have an advertisement for Twilight Syndrome Saikai, the digital movie. And I saw that first and I'm thinking, where's that? I can't find that anywhere. But of course that was a temporary title. But I thought it was going to be like a movie version of the game, where they just kind of let the game play from beginning to end, and here's the movie version. But no, that's not it. That is an actual movie which turned into Twilight Syndrome Sotsugyo. This is a kind of sort of adaptation of the game, although it doesn't follow the game, because they don't do that usually. From the game you have Yuri and her sister Masa and the boyfriend Atsushi. They are all in the movie, except it's only Yuri who has a prominent role. She's the main character. Masa is her sister and she's in the home, although she's quite a bit older than Yuri in this adaptation. She's not in it a lot, she acts like a surrogate mother. And she cooks. And then her boyfriend Atsushi is just in one scene where he comes home to have dinner. So you can discount those, I guess. But the occult club girl Misako, she's in the movie proper. And also the nurse character, who in the game you can find playing video games after hours. So unfortunately, although it's a Twilight Syndrome movie, they never walk around the school with a flashlight. to my disappointment. But at least they are in the actual school when the movie begins. They're doing the ritual, which is very, very similar to the game's ritual of the bloody hands. And Yuri actually does get a bit of a scare in this opening. And then they, open the window and like, oh, it was actually nothing. Then she sees a vision of a small boy, which will become important later. Then they break into the school at night, although they don't actually go to the proper school, they just go to the pool, where the nurse character catches them, although instead of just reprimanding them, she takes her clothes off and jumps in the pool with them. But then Yuri gets grabbed in the pool by a ghost hand, which pulls her down. So yeah, there are ghostly troubles abound. Now, I have made a subtitle to this movie, so if you want to watch the movie with English subtitles, you can contact me, and I'll hook you up, as it were. But for now, I'm going to assume that maybe 2 or 3 people will do that, and the rest I'm just going to spoil it for. So, spoilers. There are 2 more Twilight Syndrome movies that came later, but this is the only one that tries to be slightly like a Twilight Syndrome movie in the way that it has that kind of psychological angle to it. Because the plot is that Yuri, as a child, made a promise with a young boy. They buried a box with mementos, and they promised each other that they'd never forget about each other. The problem is that she did forget, and he died, so he's now a ghost, and he's sad. So there you have that little, the emotional guilt type angle, which Twilight Syndrome did very well. But then there's also an evil ghost spirit who has consumed the boy's spirit and is going around possessing her friends and making them disappear. It also possesses the nurse at one point, making her look cartoonishly evil. So eventually she does figure out the whole thing with the little friend, and she apologizes at the shrine in a big showdown. The evil spirit is vanquished with the help of Misako, who has some kind of paper with incantation on it. So she gets to act all Maho Shoujo, I think, about it, and so they win. And the friends who were taken away get brought back, although they're covered in slime. So it's kind of a spiritual wet t-shirt contest at the end. But this movie is actually pretty decent. It's kind of sort of faithful to the spirit of Twilight Syndrome. So it's like a 7 out of 10 or something. The girl who plays Yuri used to be a gravure model, I think it is, which is basically just a pinup girl. But they don't really call attention to that too much in this movie. You can tell that she has big breasts, but they don't really emphasize it. So that's good on them. When I looked at the DVD menus, they have the short profiles for the characters and directors, and some short clips when they say something about them being in the movie. I also noticed that the one who made the song for the movie was Swedish, and someone I never heard of, and I couldn't even Google her. So apparently she was like 18, 19 at the time, and then I guess her career never took off because I couldn't find anything about her. At least the one thing I did find is I went to the Wayback Machine, to the record company, and they had this little profile about her, and she was apparently from Umeå, which is just north of where I grew up. And they described Sweden as the country of Aurora Borealis, reindeer, and Santa. So, I mean, they're not wrong, but they're also pretty wrong. But anyway. There are, however, 2 more movies, and they were made around the time of the DS game's release. All 3 of these movies are kind of promotional in nature. The other 2 movies are Twilight Syndrome Dead Cruise and Twilight Syndrome Dead Go Round. They were released at the same time in 2008, as I said, to coincide with the DS game's release. They try less to be like a Twilight Syndrome movie in the sense they feel less respectful in that sense and more like B movies, but they're still okay. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Dead Cruise, which is also the worst of the 2, the lesser one. Now both of these movies have a sort of, the theme is basically, it's just a game. Or is it? Kind of. They're both very much aware that Twilight Syndrome is a video game, if that makes sense. So the first one, 6 friends are on a cruise. although I'm not sure they're all friends, because one of the girls is like a bully, one of the girls is like a nerd or whatever, the weak girl with the glasses, obviously. And the main girl runs into a small girl. Her little bit is the part that kind of sort of reminds me of Twilight Syndrome, because spooky little girls, that's the thing. But the little girl hands her a DS Lite. This has a game in it. They don't say it's Twilight Syndrome, but basically, that's what it's kind of supposed to be. The main girl doesn't seem to be interested in video games, however, so she just puts it on the table, and the bully girl gives it to the weak girl. The weak girl then starts playing the game, and she finds out that it affects real life. She can put up classic video game style obstacles, which no one, of course, can break down or get past, to protect herself from the bully girl. But then, after a certain while, something is released, which turns out to be like a nemesis type character. Although before that, regular enemies have also turned up, although they're really weak. But this nemesis style monster with a really big, gross head, which kind of looks like a head crab from Half-Life 2, only if it's melted. This thing kills the bully girl by crushing her. But then the weak girl, resets the game. So the girl who just died comes back to life. Although she still remembers getting killed, so she's really pissed off and beats the ever-loving shit out of the weak girl and stuffs her into a locker at the bathroom. And they notice that the boat, which was full of people, is completely empty now. So they try to figure out what's going on. They let the girl out again, although that maybe they shouldn't have done that, because she wants basically revenge at this point. She plays the game again and starts fucking with, she doesn't care. Like, she gets in a part of the boat and just plays the game like a villain kind of. So they have to fight a bunch of those easy enemies, and the monster guy who kills pretty much everyone. But the main girl and her kind of love interest, they get around to understanding that helping the little girl is how they beat the game. And they think that if they beat the game, everything will go back to normal. However, the guy dies trying to give her the time to save herself or whatever. Heroic sacrifice, that has to be there. Although she does reunite the girl with her dead mother, which is the part that, that reminds me also slightly of Twilight Syndrome. And she beats the game. She sees stats of how she did in the sky, kind of like she gets a ranking at the end of a video game, because it's like a video game. The boat turns back to normal. Everyone's just walking around like nothing. Although none of her friends are there. They're all still dead or gone or whatever. So, bad ending. So with the whole game angle, this movie has something to say about well, who cares if you die in the game? It's not real anyway, that kind of thing. But now it is real. So it's are you trying to talk to me as an audience member, being you should feel bad about killing enemies in video games? Or are they... probably not. They're just trying to be a little meta. But yeah, this movie is less okay-ish, maybe? I don't know, it's not very good. But also, I was going to say, these two I have not subtitled, because I was going to, but then I found out that someone else has already done that. So if you want to watch it with English subtitles, go watch this YouTuber. I did. Now the second movie, Twilight Syndrome Dead Go Round, is slightly better. The connection with the actual games in this time is really only that it takes place in an amusement park. And in Twilight Syndrome on DS, that also had a chapter with an evil amusement park with a killer clown. And this also has evil clowns in it. So, in this one, 6 strangers go to an amusement park to take part in a Twilight Syndrome game event. They all bring their DS lights. They all have different models, different colors, which is kind of funny. You have the hot girl. You have the shy girl with glasses. You have the fat nerd type, you have the angry cool guy or something, and you have the guy who's like a college student who you think is going to be the main character, and some random dude. The random dude gets called away on the speaker, and then he'll turn up later. Then comes the creator of Twilight Syndrome, called Makino, although the creator of Twilight Syndrome is not named Makino. But they did take this name, however, from a special thanks person in the DS game. He helped in some way with the Twilight Syndrome DS game, so they honored him in this movie, I suppose. So the clown, who's acting kind of extra, gives them a mission to do, to just find Game Boy Advance cartridges with a clearly fake label on the cartridge. Find those pop balloons, find those, put them in your DS, and that's the end of the game. Nothing sinister yet. However, when the guy who you think is going to be the main character, he helps another find their cartridge so that they won't get eliminated. However, he gets eliminated for cheating because of that. And in a pretty bad special effect, he gets impaled by a wooden stake. And you also find out that the guy who was called away earlier was killed because he did like a rule infraction. So this turns into like a Saw meets Battle Royale type thing. They're obviously distraught about this. A girl dies trying to escape the theme park, but the clown said that they can't run away or they will face consequences. So yeah, there you go. The angry guy then gets really pissed off and murders the clown. However, another clown just comes and takes the murdered clown away, and he talks in exactly the same voice. So there are an infinite amount of clowns, you see. So there's a bunch of games. They have to shoot at a balloon that the clown keeps like lifting away whenever the arrow appears, and then they shoot the already dead guy instead. And the angle is not bad, honestly. But then it tries to go a little meta, where you have someone comes into the park, who is supposed to be like the game developer, who apparently made the game like too immersive, so people are sucked into this world. They're not actually in reality. They're all just dozed off in real life playing Twilight Syndrome. I guess they're kind of glazing themselves, being like, oh, our game is so good, you get lost in it. So only a couple of people are still alive at this point, and then they get help from him, try to escape. The girl with the glasses, of course, takes off her glasses and you find that she's more attractive than you thought she was. I mean, that's an obvious trope. She actually gets out of the game, back into the real world. However, the hot girl, as I call her, the girl who got out, goes back into the game to save her, because she made a friend. She feels like she's like this, super lonely girl. So she saves the girl, comes back into reality, and everything's fine. So she survived and everything's hunky-dory. But of course, a horror movie, you know how horror movies are. So this movie has the "it's over, or is it?" type thing, where she's just standing on her balcony being all happy, and then you can see like a portal in the sky, or a swirl or whatever in the clouds, which you saw earlier also, which indicates that there's this alternate reality thing going on. So it's not quite over. But it's not as like in your face about it as the actual DS game. So there's that, I suppose. One thing that's kind of interesting, when I searched for Twilight Syndrome at like Yahoo auctions, that kind of thing, I found this one cartridge which is really, really expensive. It's called DS Vision, Twilight Syndrome, Dead Cruise, and Dead Go Round. At first I was thinking, so Vision, okay, so it's the two movies on a DS cart. But turns out no, it was like a promotional item that they made for an event regarding the movies. So they invited people to come to a boat, which is like the Dead Cruise one is set. You had the actors from the two movies, the director or directors, I don't remember if it's the same guy or not. They lended out DSs to the people who were there, along with this DS Vision cart, and which has like a micro SD adapter. People could get this cart which had clips from the movie. It had like a short demo of the DS game, I think, or at least a trailer. And then they could download pictures from the cartridge to their micro SD cards and take that home, basically. So apparently one of these turned up on Yahoo auctions later, and it's now hideously expensive. But yeah, I'm not going to buy it. That I can promise. None of these three movies are really that good, but the first one is clearly the best of them. And then I say the Dead Cruise is made a little better. It's a little less cheesy, has a little better of a setup. And Dead Cruise, I would say, is the worst. The whole meta aspect, I don't know, why couldn't they just kind of do another one like the first one, but with more psychology, whatever. But there you have it, the 3 Twilight Syndrome movies.